Hi, my name is Kat Powers, and I am very excited to talk over four key terms with you today that have made the MAP growth assessment and tools associated so foundational for me as an instructional leader for almost 15 years now in schools. The first term I want to share with you is adaptive assessments. Now, the MAP growth tool assessment uses an algorithm to meet a student in the moment for their level of difficulty as they take an assessment. For example, if a student is answering questions and they are getting them correct, the assessment in the moment will react and increase the level of difficulty for the following question. Just the same, if a student is struggling, the platform will then react and decrease the level of difficulty for a student. So it adapts to the student in real time. Now, this gives you, after a student is done taking the assessment, a RIT scale score. Now, a RIT scale score allows you to measure and compare academic achievement and growth over time. It is agnostic of grade level and it is agnostic of age. So it allows you to really see where a student is on their overall learning trajectory. I think about this as a ruler. It's a point in time on a long scale of where a student could land. And this allows you, here's an example of what it might look like to see a student's RIT score over time as they progressed multiple grade levels. Now, the RIT scale score is compared to with normative data. So this is normative data just means that it's referencing a population to establish a baseline distribution for a score or measurement. This allows you to see where a student is comparatively to national averages and national scores. So it allows you to norm the data, the RIT scale score, to see where a student is falling. For example, this student's report, as we're looking at, landed in the 38th percentile, which means that they made more progress than 38% of their peers. And they're making low average growth for a student in the typical, in their average grade level across the country. This also allows you to see the national average achievement of how they're comparing over time. Makes it very visual and clear where a student is on their learning trajectory and how that compares using normative data. Now, as an instructional leader, I want to use this data to make really sound instructional decisions. And because the RIT score is agnostic of grade levels, this allows me to target the zone of proximal development all the way from an individual student level to a school level. The zone of proximal development is the optimal match between a learner's background and the current achievement or introduction of new skills that they need to really make it stick. I like to think there's a zone of like, not yet, it's way far out of reach for a student. Then on the opposite side, you have that independent level. A student can go ahead and do things independent. They can demonstrate this learning very independently. They don't need any scaffolds or structure to hit that sweet zone of proximal development with their instructor. So this is, again, that spot with just a little bit introduction of skills that a student can use to flourish. And because you're looking at RIT scale scores, agnostic of grade level, you can group students appropriately to really be strategic and hit the zone of proximal development more effectively. Now, MAP really targets this zone of proximal development and allows you in multiple tools to see what skills would be really good to target for a student. For example, you might see a report like this where under standards, I can see exactly which skills I need to work on to introduce. I'm okay to introduce to the student, which skills I need to further develop, and which skills I can reinforce to have the student be really successful and make it stick over time in multiple contexts. So Just to recap, adaptive assessments meet the student where they're at, really hitting their target and finding their RIT scale score. This utilizes, because we use normative data, you can see where a student is progressing comparatively to students agnostic of grade level and content, or grade level and cohort. And then last, the zone, this allows you as the instructional leader to hit the zone of proximal development. So that sweet learning spot to make the most out of a student's learning experience. Now, I shared a little bit about these terms and how they can be utilized, but I'd love to hear from you. How do you see the NWEA map growth tool to help you make more instructional sound decisions for your team? Go ahead and share in the chat. Oh, I see you can group students across grade levels. Absolutely. I see you can share. Yeah, you can share with teachers and educators the specific skills that they need to target. See patterns over time. Oh, I love that. I love using comparative or normative data to show how to make strategic decisions across grade levels. Very smart. Awesome. Well, great work. And please know that this will make your team so much stronger together. And I hope to see you again soon.